Oh, you are awful, but I like you. Hello, Bongo. Hello again. We're here for chapter 4, part 2. There's gonna be no more fucking about. Welcome back to Rural Rampage. I'm Matt Frame. Yeah, there's to be no more fucking about. We've done chapter 4, part 1, because it's a slightly long chapter. So we've split it into 2. I was going to go on location to do this one, but me fucking car's fucked. Blew up in the heat. Couldn't stand the heat. Can't stand the heat. Get off of fucking A4. Yeah, that was fun. So we're not going to Stereotype. Not going to Stereotype. We will. We'll go back there. Can't be stopped. It'll take more than a broken fucking Ford Focus to keep me out, Stewie. Anyway, the show must go on. So we're going to crack on. We've been introduced to Daisy Carr, haven't we? She was on her way home after getting her A-levels. She's gone via the allotments and the level crossing. And so we're going to say a big hello to the star at show. Give a big round of applause for the star at show himself, Mr. Douglas Bloody Blouse. Let's have some of that. We ready? Chapter 4, part 2. Lean forward a bit. I mean business. Here we go. Douglas came bounding over towards Daisy, appearing to be nursing a slight limp. It did not take her long to work out from his awkward stance and the slight bulge in his cut-off denim shorts that he was clearly nursing an erection. She did not wish to draw attention to it, however, nor to the fact that his shorts looked like they had been hacked at by Stevie Wonder, with one side of faded black denim clearly longer than the other. His Iron Maiden t-shirt looked as if it had also been subjected to a piece of DIY tailoring and was now without sleeves. She also noticed that, in stark contrast to his heavy metal t-shirt, he had on a pair of Mr. Tickle socks, the elastic of which looked as limp and loose as the arms of the orange cartoon character himself. In one hand, Douglas held a decapitated garden gnome, in the other, a can of Stella Artois. "All right, Daisy, how's it going then?" Douglas said, swigging from the can. "Party time down here. Want to come and hang out for a bit?" Douglas inquired before pushing his luck a little further. "You're looking hot, Daisy," he said, using the abbreviated version of her name that she hated. "Give us a kiss," he said courageously. Daisy threw her head back and laughed, immediately dampening the young Lothario's spirits and pouring cold water on whatever lustful thoughts Douglas might have had towards her. Her ponytail dangled behind her like a bell ringer's rope. "Douglas, I am more likely to kiss the dog when I get home than I am to kiss you," she said, smirking at him, a frown crinkling her sweaty brow. "And anyway, I've got much better things to be doing than to stand around here talking to you. I might get arrested as an accomplice. Look at the state of this place. You know that everyone's after you for all those windows you smashed in, don't you? I just saw Mr. Qureshi. He is not a happy bunny. What were you thinking? And now all this," she said, sweeping her hand over the small walled area of destruction. "Have you got a death wish or something?" Douglas took another big swig from the can of Stella before smashing what was left of the garden gnome against the brick wall. "Whoopsie daisy," he said, staring at her as pieces of the gnome's blue china overalls and brown wheelbarrow fell to the floor. Douglas smiled and swigged once more from the can before throwing it over his shoulder, the can circling end over end before landing in a small patch of unearthed radishes some distance away. Blouse burped loudly, staring at Daisy and smiling. "Anyway, could have been anyone's arse, Daisy," he said, finally, with a poker face. "Douglas, I'm serious. If I were you, I would just go home, Go back to your little caravan, hide under the duvet and say that you've been there since the early 80s or something. The police are going to be looking for you. They've already been round your house. Mr. Qureshi said so. Good job your mum wasn't in. I hope she's got your excuses ready. Douglas looked down at the ground, wrinkling his brow, his mood taking on a brooding solemnity. Fuck the police, he said. And anyway, Mum's gone away. Don't know where. He paused, kicking at pieces of the broken gnome on the grass. I don't want to talk about it. He looked up, meeting her gaze once more. And you're not going to say you've seen me, are you, Daisy? You're not going to grass me up, are you? He said, more as an order than a question. Tell people I've been with you, Daisy said, eyebrows raised, chin tucked slightly into her chest. No, Douglas, don't worry. I won't be doing that. Cheers, Daisy. I knew I could count on you, Douglas said, perking up, pleased with her loyalty but oblivious to the mild insult marinating in the remark. Where are you going anyway? He asked. Douglas, I'm going home. I'm going out tonight with my parents for a meal, then I'm going out for drinks with my friends. Blouse lowered his head, frowning. He looked over towards the shed by the wall and then to the railway running parallel to it. What are you celebrating? He asked suspiciously. Well, Daisy said, drawing in breath, while you've been busy photocopying your spotty ass, smashing in windows, ripping up allotments and picking on defenceless garden gnomes, I've been at school making something of myself. Remember that place? School, she said. That place you used to go. I passed all my A-levels. I just got my results back, she said with a distinct air of smugness. Not all of us want to hang around here all our lives, you know. Just because you chose to drop out before you have even made it to year 11, she said. Mind you, the way you carried on, you probably would have been expelled long before you got anywhere near an exam desk. I can't imagine it must have been much fun for you, being in the lower set for everything, surrounded by all the other special little boys, she teased, reaching over the wall and pinching his cheek. Douglas straightened up in defiance. Piss off, Daisy. And I ain't going to live round here forever, he said. And anyway, fuck school. It's a waste of time going through all that boring old bollocks. People bossing you about, putting you in detention. They act like they're your fucking mum and dad, he said. Soon as I'm 18, I'll be coining it in on the dartboard down the pub. Either that or I'm going to be a rock star touring the world. Different girl in every town. Daisy noticed that he was starting to slur his words. Anyway, bollocks to all that. You want to celebrate? Come have a drink with me. I got all sorts over in that one, he said, pointing to the shed by the wall. I need to get another one anyway. Come on, it's got a fridge in it and everything. Wine and all sorts in there. Where do you think I got those beers? I think there's a bottle of champagne in there as well, he said, beaming, a mischievous glint in his eye. Wouldn't be a celebration without a bottle of bubbly now, would it, Daisy? Daisy had known Douglas long enough to know that at least 50% of what he said was usually bullshit. But for the first time since her coming together with Stevenson's Most Wanted, and emboldened mostly by the prospect of alcohol, she actually began to feel a little curious. In a strange way, she kind of admired Douglas's rebellious spirit. She looked at her watch. She still had plenty of time before her parents were due home. Maybe she could have one here, as well as when she got home. Who was to know? She sure as hell wasn't going to tell anyone she'd seen him, let alone been with him, and deep down she knew that he was pretty harmless, to her at least. She knew how to deal with him. Douglas had always had the hots for her, ever since she gave him that one and only peck on the cheek during a game of kiss chase at primary school. Probably another reason why the bulge in his jeans had not decreased in size in all the time they'd been talking. She tilted her head, looking over Douglas's shoulder towards the beaten-up sheds and tatty vegetable patches. All right, so what's on offer at the Blouse bar today then? Is it happy hour yet? She said, a little more enthusiastically than she might have liked. Her A-level results, the celebratory meal and drinks, and the fact that in a month's time she would be out of this place and away from all who dwelt here, filled her with a sense of reckless enthusiasm. It was more like a bizarre leaving do, really, she thought. Why not? Douglas's eyes lit up at Daisy's unexpected response. You better believe it's happy hour days, he said. Come on, I'll show you, it's over there. Daisy's suspicions about the legitimacy of Blouse's claims resurfaced, but against her better judgment she went along with it, walking down Stocks Lane, over the brook, and past the metal railings of the small gardens beyond it, down to where Douglas was standing by the gate waiting for her. Douglas led Daisy down the dusty, narrow garden path, the pair crossing back over the brook via the wooden bridge back into the allotments where Daisy could now see the damage up close. "Douglas, you are going to be in so much shit for this," she said, looking around her. "I would not want to be in your shoes when they find out about all this." If Douglas was at all bothered by Daisy's warnings, he didn't show it. "Can't prove it was me. Same as the windows. Like I said, could have been anyone's arse," he said breezily. From behind them, the raucous warning sound of the level crossing broke the stillness of the afternoon. Douglas's head snapped round on his shoulders to face the direction the sound was coming from. The warning lights at the level crossing were flashing red. Moments later, the metal barriers began their slow descent, rattling a metallic crescendo before settling on the hot concrete with a steely clank. Douglas turned away from Daisy, as if being drawn towards the sound by some unseen magnetic force. "Douglas, if you're thinking of doing what I think you are, then I'm out of here right now," she said. "I did not come over here to watch you risk your life flashing your spotty little arse at a train," she said sternly. "Honestly, what is it with you? It's dangerous, it's illegal, and it's bloody well stupid." Douglas stood frozen on the spot, looking from Daisy to the railway and back again. He had the look of a desperate child at a fun fair, unable to decide whether to go on the bumper cars or the fun house. "I mean it," she said, clarifying her threat. "I've got better things to do. If this is more important, then you carry on. I'll be on my way. Shouldn't even be here after the way you've been carrying on," Daisy said. Douglas was breathing deeply, conflicted, nodding his head. The sound of the rails beginning to hiss became audible somewhere off to the right as the train approached from the direction of the bridge. Douglas's eyes began to dart back and forth from the barriers back to the noise of the train before resting on Daisy. He let the train go. The Intercity 125 hurtled past the allotments with a deafening roar as it clattered over the level crossing. Daisy winced at the sound, putting her hands to her ears. Douglas compulsively put his hands to his cut-offs, gripping his waistband as if still determined to drop his shorts. He didn't, and the train disappeared from view as quickly as it came. Once again, all was quiet in the allotment. The barriers broke the silence as they clattered back to their vertical position. One car that had been waiting for the train to pass crossed the railway line. Thankfully for both Daisy and Douglas, the driver did not see either them or the damage. Douglas broke from his trance, suddenly mooing like a cow in the direction the train had gone. "Yeah, piss off back to Bridgend, you Welsh wankers," he shouted before adding, "Love to Dad and his fucking Welsh dragon." "Shut the fuck up, Douglas," Daisy whisper shouted, nervously looking around her. "Welsh wankers," he repeated, this time quieter, shaking his head with a contemptuous sneer. "Come on then, Daisy, let's have that drink," he said, taking her hand and leading her towards the shed. Daisy withdrew her hand from his grip, but diverted Douglas's disappointment with a question. "Do you see much of your dad these days then, Douglas?" she asked. "You know, since he left." Douglas stopped on the dusty path, turned and looked at her. "Who?" he said, appearing genuinely confused. "Your dad. You mentioned him just then. Do you see him much? Have you heard from him at all?" "Don't know what you mean, Daisy," he said. "I ain't got a dad." Daisy shook her head, deciding not to pursue her line of inquiry. As they approached the shed, Daisy could see that its attempted safety features were of little functional use, and the entry had been easily obtained. The rusted latch hung loosely against the wood. A small brass key with a plastic keyring name tag dangled from the padlock. The name Blunsdon was written on it in shaky, faded blue biro. "Key was already in it," Douglas said. "But you still broke it open, I suppose," Daisy said. "Yeah, didn't see the key at first. This one was easy, mouldy old piece of shit really, and the padlock's all rusted anyway. Wasn't even snapped shut. Asking for trouble if you ask me," he said in a safety-conscious tone, shaking his head. "I mean, if it wasn't me, it would have been someone else," he added, looking over his shoulder. "It was someone else, okay, Daisy?" Douglas opened the door. It creaked loudly on its aged, rusty hinges. Daisy peered in cautiously, her sense of adventure now being replaced by a disconcerting fear of being discovered. All remained quiet. Douglas held the door open. "After you," he said chivalrously. From where she stood in the dazzling afternoon sunlight, Daisy couldn't see much of the shed's darkened interior. She shielded her eyes, and they slowly adjusted to the gloom. Some hosepipe was coiled on the floor like a thin, green, dusty snake. Old gardening implements hung on the walls, as rusty as the nails they hung on. A small, shabby armchair dominated one corner, and there was a bucket with a bunch of bamboo canes propped up in it. There were also what looked like pictures on the shed's left-hand wall, facing the armchair, though in the gloom she couldn't make out what they were exactly. She squinted. They were girls, nude girls, but there was something odd about them. Their faces appeared to be covered over. At the far end stood a small fridge that Daisy presumed was probably once white. Now it was a grubby grey. Some empty plastic plant pots sat on its dusty top. There were 2 cans of unopened Carlsberg on the shelf to her left. This must be the famous bar, she thought. Next to the cans were a large pair of gardening shears and 2 pieces of black cut-off denim of uneven size. Makes sense, she thought. Her eyes adjusted further to her darkened surroundings as she stepped into the warm quiet of the shed. The smell of dirt, dust and stale alcohol permeated the air. Blunsdon, she thought. The name sounded familiar, but she couldn't place it. She thought she might have heard Mum mention it before. There were more gnomes in the shed, or at least there were bits of them. In their varying states of destruction, it was hard to tell how many there were, or which was which. Daisy did not attempt an official body count. She looked again at the images on the wall, the pictures now coming clear into focus. The bare-breasted pictures of naked ladies were plastered over almost one entire side of the shed. Some looked like page 3 girls from The Sun, others a little more hardcore, revealing a lot more than just boobs. It reminded her of the car garages she had sometimes been to with her dad to collect the car. Pervy old men wallpapering their workplaces with pictures of unobtainable women. Sad old gits. It went some way to explaining Douglas's eternal trouser bulge, though. Daisy could see now what was covering some of the girls' heads. Pictures of tractors and other assorted farming machinery had been crudely cut out and stuck over the top of them. Half glamour model, half tractor, like some kind of pornographic agricultural hybrid, a perverted farming version of a mermaid. A dusty loo roll near to running out sat on the floor between the fridge and the armchair. She began to feel deeply uncomfortable in the stuffy confines of the warped and seedy environment. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest. From behind her she heard the door creaking closed and the shed turned darker. The only light now being cast was the white beams of slanting sunshine that pierced the crooked slats of the building's tatty shell. "Nice in here, isn't it?" Douglas said. Daisy couldn't tell if he was joking or genuinely trying to impress her. "Douglas, this is fucking weird," she said, trying to sound more assured than she felt. "I'm out of here." "But you said you were going to stay for a drink. You're not going back on your word, are you?" he said, pointing to the grubby fridge tucked away under some makeshift shelving. "Open it, grab yourself a drink," he implored. Despite herself, Daisy clasped the plastic handle. It was warm and greasy. Her hand felt instantly filthy as she opened the door. Peering into the grubby interior, she saw that it contained nothing more than a piece of mouldy cheese, 2 more cans of Carlsberg, extremely warm by now, no doubt, a sausage roll, and 2 pieces of mouldy pizza. "Not exactly the Ritz, is it, Douglas? I knew you were bullshitting," she said, trying to maintain her composure, but feeling angry and a little anxious. She slammed the door of the fridge, stood up and turned to face Douglas. "Right, get out the She was cut off mid-sentence by a warm spray of fizzing lager shooting out of the can of Carlsberg that Douglas held. It soaked her face, her hair and the front of her top. "Sorry, babe," he said, laughing. "We've run out of wine." "You fucking idiot," she shouted. "Let me out of here now, you dickhead. Now!" Her heart pounded beneath her beer-sodden top. The warm lager dripped between her breasts. The look on Douglas's face did nothing to inspire confidence in her. Outside, the warning sound of the level crossing, followed by the metallic rattle of the descending barriers, could once again be heard. Douglas again became distracted, and Daisy hoped that this time he would just run out the door, run onto the railway and get hit by the fucking thing. She didn't care. But he didn't. He seemed to be enjoying himself well enough just where he was. Now, Daisy, he said. That's no way to talk to your host. I've gone to a lot of trouble here, he said with a wry, sarcastic grin. Douglas, you are in a lot of trouble, Daisy responded, making a mental inventory of the implements hanging on the wall. It's just a matter of time before they find you. Now let me out of here and I just might not say anything to anyone about this, she said, her voice rising in defiance. The ground began to shake as the train could be heard approaching, nearing, passing. The sound muted in the stuffy confines of the shed. The force of it could be felt as the ground rumbled beneath their feet, and gardening utensils hanging on their rusty nails rattled on the wall. Blouse's full attention, however, was on the beer-sodden girl standing in front of him. Daisy Carr was pissed off, but Douglas stood in front of the door, blocking her escape, and he was smiling, and he still had a bulge in his trousers. Oh dear. What's gonna happen there then? Join me next time for chapter 5 to find out. Until then, goodbye.